You think you know yourself. But let me ask you one question, and be brutally honest. How many times this week did you say something you immediately regretted? How many times did your mood betray you at the worst possible moment? How many times did you spend money you did not have to impress people you do not even like? You see, 500 years ago, a man understood what most people still refuse to admit today. That man was Niccolò Machiavelli. And what he discovered has nothing to do with what they taught you in school. He understood that true power does not begin with controlling others. It begins with controlling yourself, with mastering 4 domains that almost nobody dominates: your mouth, your mind, your mood, and your money. What I am going to reveal to you at the end of this video is so powerful that most people are not ready to hear it. It is a secret that Machiavelli himself encoded in his writings, hidden from the masses, reserved only for those who dare to look beyond the surface. But you, if you are among those who truly seek to understand the invisible mechanisms governing your life, then stay until the very end. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover could redefine everything you thought you knew about personal power. Write in the comments the word mastery if you are ready to confront truths that most prefer to ignore. And remember this: the final revelation I have for you is the one that changes everything. But you must earn it by staying until the end. Florence, Italy. The year is 1498. The air smells of blood and betrayal. Niccolò Machiavelli, a young diplomat, watches as the powerful Savonarola burns at the stake. A man who once controlled the masses with his words, destroyed by his own inability to control his tongue. In that moment, something crystallized in Machiavelli's mind. He would spend the next 25 years studying power, not as philosophers dreamed it should be, but as it actually operates in the brutal theater of human affairs. His conclusions shocked the world then, and they disturb comfortable minds even now. You see, before Machiavelli, philosophers spoke of virtue as something abstract, something divine. But Machiavelli looked at the wreckage of fallen empires, at the corpses of kings who trusted too easily, at the ruin of merchants who spent too freely. And he saw a pattern. The men who rose highest were not the most moral or the most intelligent. They were the men who had mastered themselves first. This knowledge was considered so dangerous that the Catholic Church banned his works. For centuries, his name became synonymous with evil, a convenient way to hide the uncomfortable truths he revealed. But here is what they never told you. Machiavelli was not teaching manipulation of others. He was teaching liberation from yourself, from your own weaknesses, from the 4 demons that destroy more lives than any external enemy ever could. What you are about to discover now will fundamentally shift how you understand your own psychology. And the first demon we must confront is the most dangerous one of all. It hides behind your teeth, waiting to destroy you. The first domain of mastery, and perhaps the most underestimated, is the mastery of your mouth. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. But here is what most readers miss entirely. The first person your mouth deceives is yourself. Think about this carefully. Every word that leaves your lips creates a reality. When you complain, you are programming your brain to find more things to complain about. When you gossip about others, you are signaling to everyone around you that you cannot be trusted. When you make promises you cannot keep, you are eroding the foundation of your own self-respect. I want you to pause and consider something uncomfortable. How many opportunities have you destroyed with careless words? How many relationships have you poisoned with things said in anger? How many times has your mouth written checks that your actions could not cash? Machiavelli observed that princes fell not from external enemies, but from words spoken too freely to the wrong ears. The Duke of Milan trusted his tongue at a banquet, and within 3 months, his enemies had used his own words to justify his assassination. This is not ancient history. This is your life playing out in different costumes. Every meeting where you speak before thinking, every text message sent in emotional reaction, every promise made to end an uncomfortable conversation. But this is not the most important part. What follows changes everything about how you must approach communication. You see, Machiavelli identified 3 levels of verbal mastery that separate the powerful from the powerless. The first level is silence, learning when not to speak at all. Most people fill silence with words because they are uncomfortable with the void. But the void is where power lives. When you remain silent, others project their assumptions onto you. They reveal themselves while you remain hidden. They become uncomfortable and make mistakes. This is why Machiavelli advised that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Because fear often comes simply from the unknown, from what remains unsaid. The second level is precision, learning to say exactly what you mean with no excess words. Machiavelli's writing style itself demonstrates this. He never uses 10 words when 5 will suffice. Each sentence carries weight. Each statement is calculated. When you master precision, your words gain power simply because they are rare. People lean in to listen. They remember what you say because you do not drown your message in verbal noise. But there is a third level that I will reveal shortly. And this is the one that separates masters from mere practitioners. First, I need to tell you about the second domain of mastery, because without understanding it, the third level of verbal mastery will not make sense. But before we go there, let me tell you this. If you are still here, it means you are not like the others. Most people have already clicked away, searching for easier content, faster dopamine, shallower truths. But you are still here. You are one of the seekers, and that means you deserve what comes next. If this content is resonating with you, if you feel something shifting in your understanding, then take 1 second to hit that like button. It is not for me. It is a signal to yourself that you are committed to this transformation. It is a pact between you and the person you are becoming. The second domain of mastery is the mind. And here, Machiavelli reveals something that modern psychology is only now beginning to understand. He wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. But the deepest meaning of this passage is not about deceiving others. It is about the terrifying gap between who you think you are and who you actually are. Your mind lies to you constantly. It constructs narratives that protect your ego. It filters reality through biases you do not even know exist. It convinces you that your failures are someone else's fault and that your successes are entirely your own doing. Machiavelli understood that the first battle of any prince was the battle with his own delusions. Consider the concept of virtù, the central pillar of Machiavellian philosophy. Most people translate this as virtue, but that is a catastrophic misunderstanding. Virtù is not moral virtue. It is the ability to see reality exactly as it is and to act accordingly without the distortion of wishful thinking. It is the courage to face uncomfortable truths about yourself and the world. Now ask yourself honestly, When was the last time you changed your mind about something important because the evidence contradicted your belief? When was the last time you really admitted, that you were wrong? When was the last time you looked at a failure and did not immediately construct an excuse? This is the mental weakness that destroys more men than any external enemy. Machiavelli watched brilliant strategists lose wars because they could not accept that their original plan had failed. He watched wealthy merchants become paupers because they could not admit that the market had changed. He watched powerful families collapse because they believed their own mythology instead of observing the shifting allegiances around them. The mastery of mind requires what Machiavelli called practical wisdom, the constant discipline of testing your beliefs against reality. This means actively seeking information that contradicts what you want to believe. This means surrounding yourself with people who will tell you the truth, not what you want to hear. This means developing what modern psychologists call metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking, to observe your own mental patterns, to catch yourself in the act of self-deception. But here is where it gets even deeper. Machiavelli identified a particular mental trap that affects almost everyone, yet almost nobody recognizes it in themselves. He called it the trap of the eternal present. This is the illusion that how things are now is how they will always be. When you are successful, you cannot imagine failure. When you are in love, you cannot imagine loss. When you have money, you cannot imagine poverty. This mental blindness is why fortune destroys so many men. Not because fortune is cruel, but because their minds were not prepared for change. The master of the mind holds two contradictory realities simultaneously. He enjoys the present while preparing for its end. He builds relationships while knowing they may turn to enmity. He accumulates wealth while knowing it may vanish. This is not pessimism, it is realism, and it is the foundation of all lasting power. Retains this well, because it will take its full meaning later when I reveal the final secret. There is a piège, a trap, that nobody talks about. A trap that connects all four domains of mastery in a way that, once you see it, you cannot unsee. But first, we must explore the third domain, mood. And what I am about to tell you here might be the most practical revelation of this entire video. Prepare yourself, because the next point goes even deeper into the core of what it means to be human. The third domain of mastery is your mood. And this is where Machiavelli becomes almost prophetic. He understood something that neuroscience would not confirm for another 500 years, that emotions are not just feelings. They are strategic assets or devastating liabilities. He wrote that a prince must be a great pretender and dissembler. But again, most readers misunderstand this completely. He was not teaching lying. He was teaching emotional sovereignty, the ability to choose your emotional response rather than being controlled by it. Think about what happens when you lose control of your mood. When anger takes over, you say things that damage relationships permanently. When fear dominates, you make decisions from scarcity that create the very outcomes you were trying to avoid. When despair settles in, you stop taking the actions that would lead you out of your situation. Your mood is not just an internal experience. It is a broadcast signal that everyone around you receives. When you walk into a room radiating anxiety, others sense it and treat you accordingly. When you carry yourself with calm confidence, opportunities materialize that would never appear otherwise. Machiavelli observed this in the courts of Italy. The princes who mastered their emotions projected an aura of power that made others want to follow them, want to please them, want to be associated with them. But here is the crucial insight that separates Machiavellian emotional mastery from mere suppression. Many people believe that controlling your mood means hiding your emotions, pushing them down, pretending they do not exist. This is wrong and dangerous. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They accumulate pressure until they explode at the worst possible moment. What Machiavelli actually taught was emotional transmutation, the ability to transform the raw energy of emotion into strategic action. Anger becomes fuel for focused effort. Fear becomes heightened awareness and preparation. Sadness becomes reflection and recalibration. The emotion is not denied, it is redirected. Consider a time when someone insulted you in public. The untrained person reacts immediately. Their face flushes, their voice rises. They say something they will regret. But the master of mood does something different. He feels the anger fully. He acknowledges its presence, and then he chooses consciously how to respond. Perhaps he remains completely calm, which unnerves his attacker far more than any retaliation could. Perhaps he stores the information for later use, when the response can be delivered strategically. Perhaps he simply walks away, knowing that dignifying the insult with reaction gives it power it does not deserve. We are now entering the part that only hungry minds reach. We are leaving behind the surface understanding that satisfies most people. What comes next is for those who want not just to survive, but to truly master themselves. There is a technique that Machiavelli used personally, a ritual he performed every evening that allowed him to process the emotional turbulence of the day and prepare strategically for the next. He would return home, remove the mud-covered clothes of his daily labor, and dress in royal robes. Then he would enter his study and commune with the great minds of antiquity through their books. This was not pretentious ritual. This was emotional technology. He was creating a psychological container, a sacred space where his mood could transform from the petty frustrations of daily existence into the elevated state required for strategic thinking. This is more profound than it appears. He understood that mood is influenced by environment, by clothing, by the company you keep. Even if that company is only the words of dead authors. He engineered his emotional states deliberately. And this brings us to the fourth domain of mastery, money. But before we go there, I need to tell you something about what is coming. The final revelation I have for you ties all four domains together in a way that nobody talks about. It explains why some people can master one or two domains, but never achieve complete sovereignty over themselves. It is the keystone that holds the entire arch together, and I promise you, when you hear it, everything will click into place. The fourth domain of mastery is money. And here, Machiavelli's insights are perhaps most relevant to the modern age. He observed that money is never just money. It is crystallized time, crystallized options, crystallized power. He wrote extensively about the finances of principalities, but hidden within his political analysis are profound personal truths. Consider this. The way you handle money is a direct reflection of how you handle the other three domains. If you cannot control your mouth, you will make promises and commitments that cost you financially. You will agree to prices you should negotiate. You will say yes to expenses that do not serve you because you fear the momentary discomfort of saying no. If you cannot control your mind, you will fall for financial illusions. You will buy things based on how they make you feel, rather than what they actually provide. You will chase investments based on fantasy rather than analysis. You will convince yourself that this time is different when the pattern clearly says otherwise. If you cannot control your mood, You will make financial decisions from emotional reactivity. You will spend when you are depressed because buying things provides momentary relief. You will panic sell when markets drop because fear overwhelms reason. You will make impulsive purchases when you are happy because the expanded mood makes everything seem affordable. This is why money is the fourth domain, not the first. It sits atop the other three. It is the final test of integrated self-mastery. Machiavelli observed that princes who could not manage treasury eventually lost everything, regardless of how skilled they were in other areas. The money ran out, the soldiers stopped fighting, the allies disappeared, and the once powerful prince found himself exiled or executed. But here is the insight that most miss entirely. Machiavelli distinguished between two fundamentally different relationships with money. The first he called the relationship of the miser, someone who hoards money out of fear, who cannot spend even when spending is strategically necessary, who dies wealthy but leaves nothing of value behind. The second he called the relationship of the liberal, someone who spends freely to gain reputation and love, but who eventually spends himself into ruin. Neither of these is mastery. Both are forms of slavery, one to fear, one to desire. True mastery of money is what Machiavelli called economical virtue, the ability to spend exactly what is necessary to achieve your aims, no more and no less. This requires the integration of all other domains. You need verbal mastery to negotiate effectively and communicate your worth. You need mental mastery to assess opportunities clearly without wishful thinking. You need emotional mastery to resist both the fear of spending and the impulse to spend recklessly. You are now part of the restricted circle of those who understand. Most people will never grasp what I am about to tell you because they have not earned it through the patience of staying until this point. The connection between these four domains is not additive, it is multiplicative. Weakness in one domain does not just reduce your power by 25%, it undermines all the others. A single crack in the foundation brings down the entire structure. This is why people who seem to have everything together in one area still fail spectacularly. They have mastered their words, but not their mood. They have controlled their spending, but not their mind. They have disciplined their thinking, but cannot stop their tongue from sabotaging them. What I am about to reveal is the meta principle that governs all four domains. It is the secret that Machiavelli embedded throughout his work, but never stated directly, because doing so would have been too dangerous in his time. Are you ready to hear it? Are you truly prepared for what comes next? Take a breath. Because the final revelation is the one that nobody dares to formulate. Do not skip this moment. What follows is reserved for those who had the courage to stay. If you have not yet subscribed, do it now, because the next videos in this series will go even deeper, and you will want to be notified the moment they drop. The final secret is this. The four domains are not separate challenges. They are one challenge wearing four masks. And that challenge is the mastery of attention. Every failure in speech comes from attention lost to impulse. Every failure in thought comes from attention captured by comfortable illusions. Every failure in mood comes from attention hijacked by emotional reactivity. Every failure in money comes from attention misdirected by short-term desire. Machiavelli understood that attention is the fundamental resource. It is more valuable than time because time without attention is meaningless. It is more valuable than money because money managed without attention disappears. It is more valuable than relationships because relationships without attention wither. When you master attention, you master everything. You notice the words before they leave your mouth and can choose whether to release them. You observe your thoughts from a distance and can evaluate them objectively. You feel your emotions arising and can redirect their energy consciously. You see your financial impulses for what they are and can override them strategically. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote that fortune is the arbiter of half our actions, but she leaves the other half to us. The half that fortune controls is what happens to us. The half we control is where we place our attention. Every technique I am about to share with you is, at its core, an attention technology. A way of reclaiming sovereignty over the most precious resource you possess. Now let us move to the practical application of everything you have learned. I will give you 7 techniques, one for each day of the week, that will systematically build your mastery over all 4 domains by strengthening your fundamental capacity for directed attention. Technique number 1 is called the morning audit. Each morning, before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, before you consume any external information, spend 10 minutes in complete silence. During this time, scan your internal state. Notice your mood. Observe the thoughts arising without engaging them. Feel the physical sensations in your body. This practice creates a baseline awareness that will serve you throughout the day. You will notice when your mood shifts because you know where it started. You will catch thoughts spiraling because you observed them in stillness. This single technique, practiced daily, will do more for your self-mastery than any amount of reading or talking about self-improvement. Technique number 2 is the verbal fast. 1 day per week, speak only when absolutely necessary. This does not mean being rude or ignoring people. It means eliminating all unnecessary commentary, all gossip, all complaints, all verbal processing of your thoughts. You will be astonished at how much you normally speak without intention. You will discover that most of what you say adds nothing of value, and you will find that when you do speak on this day, your words carry unusual weight. People lean in, people listen, because scarcity creates value. Technique number 3 is called the belief autopsy. Once per week, select one belief you hold strongly and attempt to destroy it. Gather all the evidence against it. Argue the opposing position as forcefully as you can. Try to find the strongest possible case against your own conviction. If your belief survives this process, it emerges stronger. If it dies, you have freed yourself from an illusion that was limiting you. Either outcome is a victory. This is how you develop the mental flexibility that Machiavelli called virtù, sattitudine, the capacity to see reality as it is rather than as you wish it to be. Technique number 4 is the emotional transmutation practice. When you feel a strong negative emotion arising, anger, fear, despair, jealousy, do not suppress it and do not express it reactively. Instead, find a physical outlet immediately. Walk rapidly. Do push-ups. Clean your space with intensity. The emotion needs somewhere to go. Give it a constructive channel. Then, once the physical intensity has passed, sit with what remains. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What boundary has been crossed? What need is unmet? What change is required? The emotion becomes information rather than destruction. Technique number 5 is the spending pause. Before any non-essential purchase, implement a waiting period. For purchases under $50, wait 24 hours. For purchases between $50 and $500, wait 1 week. For purchases over $500, wait 1 month. During this waiting period, ask yourself 3 questions. Will this matter in 5 years? Am I buying this to fill an emotional void? If I did not buy this, What would I do with the money instead? You will find that most purchases fail these questions when examined after the emotional impulse has faded. Technique number 6 is called the evening review. Before sleep, spend 10 minutes reviewing your day through the lens of the 4 domains. How did you use your words? Were there moments when silence would have served you better? What thoughts dominated your mind? Were any of them distorted or delusional? How did your mood fluctuate? Did you react or respond to emotional triggers? How did you handle money? Were your financial decisions aligned with your long-term interests? This practice closes the feedback loop. Without review, you cannot learn from your daily experience. With review, every day becomes a teacher. Technique number 7 is the weekly integration. Each week, set aside 2 hours for strategic solitude. No phone, no internet, no other people. During this time, review your notes from the daily practices. Look for patterns. Notice which domain gives you the most trouble. Design one specific intervention for the coming week that addresses your weakest point. This is how sustainable transformation occurs, not through massive occasional efforts, but through consistent small adjustments based on honest self-observation. These 7 techniques form a complete system. Each one reinforces the others. Together, they create an upward spiral of increasing self-mastery. But I must warn you, this system only works if you actually practice it. Knowing is not doing. Understanding is not transformation. The gap between insight and implementation is where most people's aspirations go to die. We have traveled far together, you and I. From the burning of Savonarola in 15th century Florence to the depths of your own psychology. From Machiavelli's observations of princes and power to the practical techniques that can transform your daily life. Let us now close the circle. Remember where we began? I asked you how many times this week you said something you regretted. How many times your mood betrayed you? How many times you spent money you should not have spent? These are not separate problems. They are symptoms of a single root cause: fragmented attention, sovereign awareness lost to impulse and reactivity. What Machiavelli understood, what he encoded in his works for those with eyes to see, is that the prince who cannot rule himself cannot rule anything. And you are the prince of your own life. Your kingdom is your daily experience. Your subjects are your thoughts, your words, your emotions, your resources. When you master these 4 domains, you do not become manipulative or cold. You become free, free from the tyranny of your own impulses, free from the prison of reactive patterns, free to respond to life strategically rather than automatically, free to create rather than merely react. This is the true meaning of Machiavellian philosophy, not the caricature of cynical manipulation, but the profound art of self-sovereignty. You are not the same person who started this video. Something has shifted. Perhaps it is subtle, a new awareness, a different angle of vision. Perhaps it is profound, a recognition that changes everything. Either way, you have taken the first step on a path that most never even glimpse. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it fade like so many insights before, consumed by the noise of daily life? Or will you implement what you have learned, starting today, starting now? Here is my invitation to you. If you are ready to go deeper, if you want more of these teachings that transform how you understand yourself and the world, then subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Join the community of lucid minds, of those who refuse to sleep through their own lives. Like this video, not for me, but as a commitment to yourself, a signal that you are serious about this path. Leave a comment below and tell me. Which of the 4 domains, mouth, mind, mood, or money, is your greatest challenge? Share your honest answer, because that honesty itself is an act of self-mastery. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who is struggling with these very challenges, share this video with them. You might be the catalyst for their transformation. In the next video, I will reveal something even more controversial, the shadow side of self-mastery that nobody talks about, the hidden dangers of this path that I have personally experienced, and how to navigate them. It will be the most honest video I have ever made. You do not want to miss it. Until then, remember this. Fortune favors those who are prepared. But first, you must prepare yourself. The world will not give you permission to become powerful. You must take that power through the daily discipline of self-mastery. Your mouth, your mind, your mood, your money, these are not burdens. They are the instruments of your sovereignty. Learn to play them, and the world becomes your stage. Go now and begin.